The Women, by Kristin Hannah, is a powerful and poignant novel that tells the story of Frankie McGrath, a young nursing student who joins the Army Nurse Corps during the Vietnam War. Set against the turbulent backdrop of the 1960s, the book shines a light on the often overlooked contributions and sacrifices of women who served in the war. Frankie's journey from a sheltered life in Southern California to the chaos and trauma of Vietnam is a gripping tale of courage, resilience, and self-discovery. As she navigates the horrors of war and the challenges of returning home to a divided America, Frankie's story becomes a symbol for all the brave women who put themselves in harm's way to help others. Part 1. Frankie's decision and training. The novel opens in 1965, as 20-year-old Frankie McGrath is living a comfortable life on Coronado Island with her conservative parents. Raised to be a good girl and do the right thing, Frankie has always followed the path expected of her. But as the world around her begins to change, Frankie starts to imagine a different future. When her older brother Finley decides to enlist in the Navy and ship out to Vietnam, Frankie is shaken. At Finley's farewell party, she overhears a conversation that sparks something inside her: women can be heroes, too. These unexpected words make Frankie realize she has a choice. Rather than waiting at home for her brother to return, she decides to follow him to Vietnam, but in a different capacity. Frankie impulsively joins the Army Nurse Corps, much to the dismay of her parents who want her to marry and live a conventional life. Undeterred, she undergoes rigorous training with other young nurses, preparing for the harsh realities of war. The training is intense, both physically and emotionally, as they learn battlefield medicine and how to cope with the trauma they will face. Despite her family's disapproval, Frankie is driven by a newfound sense of purpose and idealism. She forms close bonds with her fellow trainees, finding strength in their shared resolve. Together, they support each other as they prepare to face the unknown horrors of war. Part 2. The Vietnam Experience. In 1967, Frankie arrives in Vietnam, quickly realizing she is as green and inexperienced as the young men sent to fight. The war zone is a brutal, chaotic place, and Frankie is overwhelmed by the destruction and suffering she encounters. Every day is a struggle to save lives amidst the carnage. Frankie is assigned to a busy field hospital, working around the clock alongside other Army nurses. She quickly learns that war is unpredictable and merciless. The soldiers they treat are often younger than Frankie, their injuries severe and heartbreaking. The nurses work tirelessly, sometimes beyond the point of exhaustion. Frankie witnesses the devastating impact of napalm and the traumatic injuries it causes. She sees the emotional toll the war takes on the soldiers, many of whom are dealing with PTSD. The horrors of war strip away Frankie's innocence, but she refuses to let it break her spirit. She finds solace in the friendships she forms with other nurses, especially Barb and Ethel. As the months pass, Frankie becomes a skilled and respected surgical nurse. She develops a close bond with Dr. Jamie Callahan, a talented surgeon. Their friendship provides comfort and support in the midst of the chaos. But just before Jamie's tour is up, his helicopter is shot down and he is killed. Frankie is devastated by the loss of her friend. When Frankie's initial tour of duty is complete in 1968, she has the option to return home. But she sees how desperately her skills are needed, so she decides to re-enlist for another year. She continues to work tirelessly, saving lives and providing comfort to the wounded. During this second tour, Frankie reconnects with Ry Walsh, her brother's best friend who is now a Navy officer. They begin a passionate relationship, with Ry also re-enlisting so they can be together. Frankie finds happiness amidst the horror, but it is short-lived. Just days before Ry is due to return home, his plane is shot down and he is killed. Part 3. Coming home. In early 1969, after 2 grueling tours, Frankie finally returns to California. But the homecoming is not what she expected. The country she left has changed dramatically. The war has become deeply unpopular, with many Americans protesting against it. Frankie faces hostility and misunderstanding from those who don't understand the sacrifices she made. Struggling with PTSD and nightmares from the war, Frankie is unable to readjust to civilian life. She alienates friends and family, who are embarrassed by her war record. Her parents, who never approved of her decision to enlist, are at a loss on how to help their daughter. Frankie's job at the local hospital becomes overwhelming, and she has a mental breakdown. Leaving home after a fight with her parents, Frankie seeks help at the VA, but is turned away because she wasn't in direct combat. Desperate, she reaches out to her Army friends Barb and Ethel. Ethel takes Frankie in, allowing her to stay at her family's farmhouse to recover. As Frankie grapples with her trauma and loss, she realizes the war will never leave her. The experiences she had and the people she lost have changed her forever. Themes and symbolism. The Women explores several powerful themes, including the role of women in war, the trauma of combat, and the challenges of reintegrating into society after experiencing such horrors. Frankie's journey represents the struggles of all women who served in Vietnam, often without recognition. The novel also delves into the political and social upheaval of the 1960s. Frankie's story is set against the backdrop of a nation divided by the war, with anti-war protesters clashing with those who supported the troops. This division is reflected in Frankie's own family. As her parents struggle to understand her choices, Kristin Hannah uses vivid imagery and symbolism throughout the book. The chaos and destruction of the war is contrasted with the idyllic setting of Coronado Island, where Frankie grew up. The island represents the sheltered life she left behind, and the innocence she lost. The title, The Women, is a powerful statement in itself. It recognizes the bravery and sacrifice of the female nurses who served, often in the most dangerous conditions. They were the forgotten heroes of the war, their stories overshadowed by the men who fought on the front lines. Characters. Frankie McGrath is a complex and compelling protagonist. She undergoes a profound transformation over the course of the novel, from a naive young woman to a hardened veteran. Frankie's idealism and courage under fire make her a symbol of her generation. The supporting characters are also vividly drawn. Barb and Ethel, Frankie's fellow nurses, provide emotional support and a sisterhood forged in the crucible of war. Their friendship is a lifeline for Frankie as she navigates the trauma of combat. Dr. Jamie Callahan and Rye Walsh represent the men in Frankie's life. Jamie is a mentor and confidant, while Rye is a passionate love interest. Their deaths are devastating blows to Frankie, underscoring the heavy toll the war takes on everyone involved. Conclusion. The Women is a powerful and moving tribute to the brave women who served in the Vietnam War. Through Frankie's story, Kristin Hannah shines a light on a forgotten chapter of history. The novel is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of friendship and love, even in the darkest of times. Frankie's journey is one of self-discovery and healing. She learns that true heroism is not about glory or recognition, but about doing what is right in the face of overwhelming adversity. Her story is a reminder that the scars of war, both physical and emotional, can last a lifetime. But with the support of loved ones and a determination to move forward, it is possible to find meaning and purpose, even in the aftermath of such trauma. The Women is a must-read for anyone interested in historical fiction, war stories, or tales of female empowerment. It is a poignant and powerful novel that will stay with readers long after the last page is turned.